Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Media, Arts, Technology, and Community. I'm your host, Kyra Wright. On today's episode, we'll explore student organizations, dream about bikes, and meet an impressive professor right here at M.A.T.C. All that and more coming up next. Hi everyone, Kyra here. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of M.A.T.C's Media, Arts, Technology, and Community. Up first, we have Jessie, who introduces us to a difference maker, Luz Sosa, a professor of economics here at M.A.T.C. and a huge contributor to the community.
For our Difference Maker segment, we would like to share the story of a young lady who came to this country and overcame tremendous obstacles. Here is the story of Miss Luz Sosa.
I'm originally from Asunción, Paraguay, in South America. I came to the United States when I was 16 years old. I was born in Asunción, Paraguay, but I grew up in Argentina with my mother. I went to high school in Milwaukee, Whitefish Bay High School, and then I went to Marquette University for both my undergraduate and my graduate degrees. When I first came to the United States, I didn't know how to speak English.
La Suprema Corte dijo que había estados donde ellos podían decidir si querían expandir o no.
And so my first 2 years of high school were very difficult at first. I used to be a very good student back at home, and when I came to Whitefish Bay, I didn't do very well because of the language barriers and having to translate all of my books from scratch. And so I didn't socialize at all my first year.
Many sacrifices were part of her journey.
To get better grades. My senior year, I actually got into the honor roll, and then I ended up finishing in the high honor roll my last year of high school. One of the memories that I have from Whitefish Bay is that my counselor at the time invited my father for a meeting, and she said to my father that I was not going to be able to make it to college, and one of the main reasons being that my English just was not good enough. What ended up happening is that I applied for 5 colleges. My father said, "Don't worry about what she said, let's apply, let's see where we get."
Obstacle after obstacle, she kept moving forward. Miss Sosa stays very active in the community.
Stopped dancing. Actually, right when I was in college, because I had those talents, I was actually teaching dancing to other people, and I did it for fun and also for extra money. So when I was in college, I would teach in different dance clubs, dance studios, and I would actually teach salsa and merengue and bachata and other Latin dances. And so I never stopped. That never stopped. That is still part of my life.
Miss Luz Sosa, a true inspiration and a true difference maker.
But I just want to make sure we respect each other's time. So if you could just Great job, Lou. What a way to make a difference. And thank you for teaching others to keep pushing in our educational endeavors. Now let's look at Warren as he demonstrates how to get a smooth and steady camera shot with the gimbal.
Camera gimbals like this iCan Fly Plus here can help you get amazingly smooth tracking shots and arcs. Designed for small and lightweight e-production style cameras like smartphones and GoPro, gimbals are an easy way to get steady and seamless footage similar to a traditional Steadicam, but at a fraction of the size and cost. Tracking shots are usually hard to achieve on your own, but with a gimbal, similar shots appear much smoother and steadier. After you've mounted your camera, make sure to balance the counterweight so that the gimbal appears even. Make sure to keep your hand steady and don't rattle or shake the gimbal. Remember to turn on the gimbal before you start shooting, as well as shutting it off when you're done. And besides being a handy tool on your shoot, this particular iCan gimbal is also affordable, usually costing less than $300. So I hope this video on gimbals will make your next shoot a lot smoother. This is Warren Barth, signing off.
Thanks, Warren. Now that was some smooth and steady camera action right there. Next, Dallas is going to show us certain tricks in filmmaking we may not notice. So she points out the benefits of student groups and organizations. And finally, we'll be joined by our in-studio guest, Milwaukee School Board Director, Mark Sain.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Tricks of Trade in Filmmaking. Today I'm going to talk about certain tricks that we tend not to notice in films in general. One trick that we tend not to notice is that good guys always walks away from the camera to the right. We tend to associate movement to the right as a positive, kind of like the number line in math. The right is the positives and the left is the negatives. So for the bad guys, they would walk out of the camera to the left, the opposition of the good guys. Finally, the other trick we tend not to notice is camera angles, mainly high and low angles. Low angles, the character would look powerful and menacing, or they could look heroic. Here's an example of a low angle shot. High angle shots can be used in horror movies, action. It makes the character more vulnerable and less powerful to the point of view of the camera. It can be used as fear or something shocking as like devastation or destruction. Then there's a high angle shot. In filming, the character would look scared, less powerful, and vulnerable. Examples of a character can be a child looking up at an adult, or it can be people looking at something terrifying like a monster. Here's an example of a high angle shot. So there you have it, folks. tricks in filmmaking that we as an audience don't notice. For all of you aspiring filmmakers out there, feel free to use these simple techniques. It might come in handy in the future. This is Tricks of the Trade in Filmmaking. I'm Dallas Nelson, signing out.
Although Milwaukee is one of the most segregated cities in the country, more than half of the students at M.A.T.C's downtown campus identify themselves as a minority. Students join clubs and multicultural organizations to make friends and enhance their leadership skills.
The cultured groups, they're more geared towards, they're not restricted like you have to be black to join Black Student Union. What they want to do is educate their members more so on the culture.
I think as far as like with multicultural organizations as well as student organizations, I think this helps the students on campus to find their place on campus. So with the school system, the school like M.A.T.C is very diverse, and we have people from different backgrounds and walks of life, and so having a safe space for them to go and be who they truly are in an environment with other people like them is really nice, as well as finding people who want to sympathize or be allies is an amazing thing for a school.
When I first got here, we had a protest. I was part of the Black Student Union. We joined the Latino student organization, and it was great to see the unity that we had. I think that's one of the things that I enjoyed.
Student organizations put together fundraisers to collect money for a cause of their choice. The Asian Student Association has been collecting money for the children in Thailand by selling clothing, book bags, and purses made in Thailand.
There are 29 different student organizations at the downtown campus, and I strongly encourage students to take advantage of these opportunities and get themselves involved.
We are here to serve you all. We offer up a safe space for you all to come and talk about issues that are going on in our community, i.e. Sherman Park, Seville case, things of that nature, as well as giving us a chance to go out and give back to our community.
So I've met a lot of great people from joining all the clubs. I also think that it's good for applications too, to be able to put like on your resume that you were in like so many different clubs and you were so involved in your school and your community.
Thanks, Dallas, for those cool tricks, and thank you, Soshi, for that great information about student organizations and groups on campus. Joining me now, we have Milwaukee School Board Director, Mr. Mark Sane. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Pleasure being here this morning, Kyra.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get started on your journey to becoming, the director of the Milwaukee School Board?
Wow, it's kind of an interesting story. I am a lifelong resident of the city of Milwaukee, born and raised here, and I spent 28 years working for the Milwaukee Fire Department. And I retired, and I had a retired administrator from the Milwaukee Public School System approach me and asked me to consider running for the school board, which I'm not an educator. I mean, I did training and stuff when I was with the fire department, but I'm no way, shape, or form an educator. So I thought about it a little bit and talked to a few people that I knew that were in the field of education, including my sister, who is a retired principal in Racine Unified System. And they encouraged me to do it. They said I'd be great at it. You don't have to be an educator to be on the school board. So I put together a campaign, ran, won, and now I'm on my second term as a school board member for Milwaukee Public Schools.
So how long is the term for a school board member?
They're 4-year terms.
Okay.
Every 2 years there's an election for a school board. There's a total of 8 districts, and then we also have a 9th member who's what we call an at-large person, so they're kind of citywide.
Okay.
And the reason for that is depending upon the votes, you always kind of have that tiebreaker.
Okay.
So there's 8 districts, but there's 9 members. And every 2 years there's an election. So 4 are up this spring for re-election, and then 2 years later there'll be 5 up for re-election.
So what are some exciting things that the Milwaukee School Board is actually working on right now?
Ooh, exciting things. The superintendent has proposed a few items, one of which is the school calendar.
Okay.
Traditionally, schools have started, after September 1st, where the idea that she's proposing is that we start in mid-August, and it's what we call our IB calendar.
Okay.
Currently,
now, can you explain IB for anybody that's watching?
That's
I know
International Baccalaureate.
Okay, now explain that
the
process versus like a Montessori or charter school or something.
Well, the International Baccalaureate is a program that really prepares students for life beyond high school, really for just about any college that you would want to attend, and also colleges that are international, not just here in the United States, but beyond. If you're looking at going to school in Europe, it kind of helps prepare you for that kind of rigorous higher ed type of program. So that program starts mid-August. We also have what we call a year-round calendar, where we have certain schools that operate under that calendar. And then
so this means no summer break?
Oh yeah, they get a summer break.
Okay.
Not only do they get summer break, but then there's what we call intersessions as well, so that in between the school year, there may be a week to 2 weeks break.
So not that big 3-month chunk
not
that we're
the big
used
3-month
to.
chunk
Okay.
that a lot of families have grown accustomed to. And most of our schools are what we call that traditional calendar, where you had that large summer break. And the nice thing about this program as well that the superintendent has shared so far with the community is there's this term that she calls the J term, which is during the month of June, where students can catch up on things. If there may be a few credits short of, say, graduating, you can spend that time building on those credits.
Okay.
Let's say if you want to take a group of credits that can advance you going into the fall or to your next school year, students will have that opportunity to take additional
this program
credits.
is really good for high school students specifically.
It's good for high school and middle school students as well. And really, and it's almost kind of, instead of us really kind of focusing on that whole summer school idea of catch up, it's giving students not only the ability to catch up, but to advance.
Right, because I'll be honest, summer school is hard. We've all done it.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
Got a little boy crazy in high school. And summer school is just so accelerated that sometimes for the average student, you don't really have that time to grasp everything that you missed during that full school year term.
Sure.
Because you're trying to get it in 3 weeks or 4 weeks.
Yeah, and here, you know, and all of the plan hasn't been unveiled, but it gives those students an opportunity to stay connected to their teachers, whereas in summer school, you may have a different teacher that you're working with.
Right.
So as long as you can maintain those contacts with the teachers that you've been working with for most of the school year, I think that helps keep the
learning process a little easier.
A little easier, yes.
So here's the one thing. We hear so much in the media negatively about MPS schools and some of our community schools. Tell us some of the positive things. I know I want to talk about the new Rufus King Middle School. And tell me about some of the other great schools. I know Golda Meir is one of our really good schools. Tell me some good things that are going on in MPS schools.
Well, for Golda, we've actually expanded that program. It was kind of a K through 8th grade program. A couple of years ago, we added the high school component. So they're building their brand from a K through 12 learning environment that's really giving those kids the opportunity to stay connected to that Golda lifestyle of education. Yeah, and instead of those kids getting to 8th grade and now trying to find that high school, you know, the Reagans and the Rufus Kings of the world, I mean, they have large waiting lists. So for us to expand our Golda program really gives those students and families a place to stay connected. We had a ribbon cutting ceremony for the Rufus King Middle School a few weeks ago. And one of the things I usually do when I walk into the buildings, I always talk to the students and see how things are going. They'll tell you the real story.
Yeah.
And I asked these two young folks, I said, so what do you like about this school? First thing they said was the teachers.
Wow.
They like their teachers. And again, as we're looking at transitioning our students from elementary environment to a high school environment, what they're doing at the Rufus King Middle School is really preparing them for the rigor that they would experience
Gotcha.
at the IB school.
Gotcha. And eventually preparing some of those students to be students right here at M.A.T.C.
Yes, yes, most definitely, most definitely.
Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate all the information that you gave us
Well, thank you.
about the school board. And if we want to find out how to get in touch with our school board member, how do we do that?
There's a number that folks can call,
Okay.
and that number is 414-475-8284, and that's our Office of Board Governance.
Okay.
So they can call them at any time during the business hours.
Anytime we have any issues.
Anytime, any
okay.
constituents' concerns.
Or any good responses.
Or good responses. We always want to hear good responses.
Thank you so much for joining us. Now we're going to go over to Rebecca, and she is going to show us one of the great treasures in our community right on King Drive, a nonprofit organization that specializes in reinventing what others would call junk into dream bikes.
Ever wonder where your bikes go when they die? It's not a mystery. They are reborn at Dream Bikes. Located in the Halyard Square neighborhood on North MLK Drive, Dream Bikes reinvents what recycling is all about.
Dream Bikes was created by Trek Bicycle Company as a way to enhance their outreach to different communities that weren't necessarily customers of Trek to begin with. We started in 2008 in Madison.
Here's how it works. Take your bicycle in any condition and donate it to Dream Bikes. They will then repair the bike to full working condition or strip the bike for parts. Either way, you can get a 10% discount on a refurbished bike at the store. They also accept gently used bike parts and accessories. The real draw to Dream Bikes is the connection it makes with the youth in the community. This partnership created as their mission, to be a nonprofit that believes in turning used bikes into jobs.
The team program is pretty much through Boys and Girls Club, and they do 8 weeks at the Boys and Girls Club repairing a bike and disassembling it, and then they take 8 weeks and go over here and learn how to deal with customers and how to also deal with repairing a bike and doing a work order on the bike, and also meeting customers and dealing with one of us employees when it comes to fixing a bike.
Another facet of Dream Bikes is community involvement. They encourage youth to get involved in their own future.
So when they're done with this program, Bubbler will call us for some of the workers that have really excelled, and they'll go work over there and do the same thing, but you know, Bubbler Bike Station is an electronic bike. So they're dealing with stuff that's a little bit more complicated, but yet fairly simple. So, and if they don't get a job at Bubbler or work with Bubbler, then we'll take the time out of our hands and help them find a job, because that's what we do. And if you do get hired here, we also have scholarships.
A big part of it is it's a very easy way to get access to different communities to help them out. You know, if you start with the young kids, you can easily get everybody else involved. And the great thing is that if we can start kids in bike mechanic schools and training younger, they'll be more familiar with it later on.
All donations are tax deductible, and when you donate a used bike, you're giving a teen skills for their future. So clean out your garage and check out Dream Bikes.
Thanks, Rebecca, for showing us what Dream Bikes is doing for youth in our community. Wow, what a great show today. That about does it for us. I want to thank you for joining us. I want to thank our in-studio guest, Mr. Mark Swain, once again for joining me. I'm your host, Kyra Wright, for this final episode of MATC's Media, Arts and Technology and Community. Thank you again, and stay warm out there.